It's already 2 a.m. The house is completely silent, with only the glow of the screen illuminating your face and that low hum from the console or PC. You know you should be sleeping. Tomorrow there's work, college, commitments, but there's that just one more level, just one more boss, just one more match echoing in your head. And look, I completely understand, because while everyone else is asleep, there's something magical about gaming in the early hours. There are no interruptions, no one calling your name, no traffic noise outside. It's just you, the game, and a sense of freedom that doesn't exist at any other time of day. But there's a dark side to all of this. Literally and figuratively. Certain games feel like they were made to haunt us when we play late at night. The atmosphere feels different, the jump scares are more intense, and that dark hallway that was just a hallway during the day, at night, it becomes a portal to your worst nightmares. So yes, you probably shouldn't be gaming in the middle of the night. Your body and your mental health would thank you. But let's be honest, you're going to play anyway. I get you, because I do it too. However, today we're going to dive deeper into this. Gaming in the early hours has always had a different charm. Phone notifications disappear, and it feels like the whole world is asleep, except for you and your controller. In these moments, every sound in the game stands out more. Every environment feels deeper. It's almost like entering a trance. It's easy to believe that the middle of the night is the best time to focus and produce in the game, whether it's climbing the ranks, beating that RPG, or catching up on a campaign that's been stuck all week. But this sense of productivity is somewhat deceptive. The silence and lack of distractions give the impression of focus, but in reality, your body isn't functioning at its best rhythm. During the night, your brain tries to convince you to rest, and as you insist on playing, it starts to lose precision, reasoning, and reflexes. What feels like focus mode is sometimes just exhaustion disguised as tranquility. And the problem is that the body has its own clock, the so-called circadian rhythm, which regulates when we should be awake and when we need to sleep. Playing late disrupts the cycle, mainly because the light from the screen makes the brain believe it's still daytime. When this happens, the production of melatonin, the sleep hormone, is delayed. The result, even after turning off the console, you end up tossing and turning in bed, unable to fall asleep. Additionally, this habit ends up accumulating a kind of sleep debt throughout the week. You might think you can compensate by sleeping more on the weekend, but the body never fully adjusts. And when the natural cycle is broken, your mood changes, focus drops, and even game performance worsens. Those quick reactions you had during the day seem to vanish, and your patience, especially in more challenging games, evaporates in minutes. On the other hand, I well understand the appeal. Sometimes it's the only free time of the day after work, college, and responsibilities. Gaming at night becomes a way to reconnect with yourself, a type of personal refuge. And when you're completely immersed in a good game, time simply disappears. The question is how far you can go without sacrificing what comes next, your energy, performance, and the pleasure of playing itself. The night has its charm, but it charges a high price. The ideal might not be to abandon the habit entirely, but to find a balance. Play a little, stop before your body calls it quits, and let the screen go dark at the right moment. Because, as tempting as just one more match is, sleep is the body's true hard mode, and we never win when we decide to face it for too long. When you're gaming late at night, you eventually reach that point where you feel like you're on autopilot. You look at the screen, your fingers are pressing the buttons, but your mind seems to be somewhere else. It's that strange feeling of playing without really playing. And the worst part is that you only realize this once you've died 3 times to the same enemy or made a completely stupid decision you'd never make during the day. The truth is that sleep isn't just rest, it's essential to keep your mind functioning at the level you need to play well. When you deprive your body of sleep, concentration is the first thing to go. That surgical focus you had for dodging attacks, calculating combos, or managing inventory resources simply disappears. In its place comes a mental fog that makes everything seem slower and more confusing, even if the game is running normally. Reflexes also suffer. A lot. In fighting games, for example, you start eating hits you would normally block without thinking. In beat-em-ups, that perfect timing to execute combos becomes a mess. And in games like Dark Souls or Hollow Knight, where every decision to attack or defend can be fatal, the difference between being rested and tired is brutal. You literally feel like the character isn't responding as they should, but in reality, the problem is in your head, not the controller. And there's an even dangerous side, decision-making. When you're sleep-deprived, the brain loses the ability to evaluate risks efficiently. That strategic choice you'd make calmly, like retreating, using a healing item, or rethinking your build, simply doesn't happen. You charge at the boss for the 5th time in a row, even knowing you're not prepared. It's as if the rational part of the brain has switched off and only impulse remains. I've gone through this myself more times than I'd like to admit. There are nights when I insist on playing, thinking just one more try will fix it. But the opposite happens. The more I insist, the worse it gets. And when I finally give up and go to sleep, I wake up the next day and pass the same level in a few tries, almost effortlessly. It's frustrating to realize that the biggest enemy wasn't the game, it was my own exhaustion. In the end, it's a losing battle trying to perform well when your body is begging for rest. You might force a few more hours of gameplay, but the price is high. Less fun, more frustration, and a feeling that you're wasting time instead of enjoying it. And let's face it, nobody plays to feel that way. The game should be an escape valve, not another reason to get irritated. One of the most curious things about gaming in the early hours is the shift in the atmosphere of online servers. During the day, you find a bit of everything. People in a rush, casual players, trolls. It's the normal chaos of any multiplayer game. But when night falls, something changes. The servers get calmer. People seem to be there by choice, not obligation. And suddenly, you realize you're playing with people who really want to be there, who enjoy the game the same way you do. There's a sense of community that appears at this hour, almost like a secret club for insomniacs passionate about gaming. Chat conversations feel different, more relaxed, sometimes even funnier. People collaborate more, help newbies without complaining, and even competitive players seem less toxic. It's as if everyone is on the same vibe. We're all here because we love this, so let's enjoy it. Another interesting thing is that depending on the game and your region, the night connects you with players from other parts of the world. While you're playing at 3 in the morning in Brazil, you might be crossing paths with Europeans starting their day or Americans wrapping up their night. This creates a unique blend of cultures, playstyles, and even languages. I've lost count of how many times I've joined matches where half the team spoke English, another Spanish, and we understood each other just through pings and reactions. This diversity also changes how you play. Players from different regions have distinct strategies, builds, and even priorities in the game. Sometimes you learn a completely new technique just by watching how someone from another country handles a situation. And there's something special about knowing that, despite the time zones and the distance, you're there sharing that moment, literally sharing the night for a common goal. I remember several nights where I made unlikely friendships precisely because of these hours. People I would never meet during the day, but who became regular squad or co-op partners because we were always online at the same bizarre time. We created routines, see you tomorrow night, and it became almost an unofficial commitment. These random encounters end up becoming more memorable than many ranked matches. Of course, not everything is perfect. Depending on the server, the night can mean fewer people online and longer queues to find matches. But when you finally get into the game, the quality of interaction makes up for the wait. There's something nostalgic about it, an energy that reminds you of the early days of online gaming, when communities were smaller and everyone knew each other. The night brings that back, even if temporarily. Gaming late at night once in a while is fine. Everyone has that epic night where it's worth staying up to beat a game or enjoy a new release. The problem starts when it becomes a routine. When you realize that every night you're there in the dark with a controller in hand while the rest of the world sleeps, your body starts to demand payment. And this bill doesn't come all at once. It arrives gradually in the form of accumulated fatigue, unprovoked irritability, difficulty waking up, and that constant feeling of operating on autopilot. Your biological clock, or circadian rhythm, is basically the internal system that tells your body when it's time to wake up, eat, sleep, and even when you have the most energy. When you force this clock to work outside its natural schedule, waking up late, sleeping during the day, gaming all night, it simply becomes deregulated. And then a domino effect begins. Sleep becomes shallower and less restorative. You wake up tired even after sleeping for hours. And during the day, your concentration vanishes. It's like trying to live in a different time zone than your own body. And the worst part is that it doesn't just affect sleep. The disruption of the biological clock messes with essential hormones like melatonin and cortisol. Melatonin is what makes you sleep well, and cortisol regulates stress. When these two get out of sync, you become more anxious, more irritable, and have less patience to deal with anything, including the games themselves. That disproportionate frustration with a difficult boss or an online defeat, often it's not the game, it's the body crying out for help. Mental health also comes into play heavily. I've gone through phases where gaming at night was my refuge, but at the same time, I noticed my mood was getting worse and worse. I became more isolated, less willing to leave the house or talk to people. And there's a cruel irony in this. You play to relax and escape stress, but the habit of playing late ends up leaving you more stressed, more anxious, and even contributing to depressive states. It's a self-feeding cycle. On the physical side, the problems go beyond fatigue. Chronic poor sleep is linked to weight gain, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, and a weakened immune system. I noticed myself that in phases where I pulled many all-nighters gaming, I got sick more often. Those colds that wouldn't go away, constant headaches, a heavy body sensation, and all because the body simply didn't have time to recover properly. The hardest part to accept is that we know this, but we keep playing anyway. Because in that moment, at 3 a.m, the game seems more important than any future consequence. But the truth is that health isn't something you can recover later like lost experience in an RPG. When you deregulate your body for too long, it collects. And it collects dearly. And then you realize that maybe it would have been more worth it to have stopped half an hour earlier and woken up the next day ready to actually play. If you're going to play in the middle of the night, and let's face it, we know you are, at least do it in a way that doesn't destroy your body in the process. The first thing is to establish a time limit before you even turn on the console or PC. And I'm not talking about that imaginary limit you make up on the fly, like, I'll stop when I finish this level. I'm talking about setting an alarm on your phone, defining a concrete time and actually respecting it. It sounds silly, but it makes all the difference between waking up functional the next day or becoming a zombie. The big trick is to be honest with yourself about how much time you actually have. If you need to wake up early the next day, playing until 5 a.m. simply isn't a viable option, no matter how tempting it is. Sometimes it's better to play 1 or 2 high-quality hours, truly enjoying yourself, than to force 4 or 5 hours where half the time you're more asleep than playing. Quality over quantity applies to everything, including late-night gaming sessions. Breaks are essential. And I know that sounds boring when you're in the middle of an intense session, but seriously, getting up every hour to stretch your legs, drink water, and blink your eyes away from the screen, that's not a luxury, it's a necessity. I've had nights where I stayed glued to the chair for hours and woke up the next day with back pain, dry eyes, and that hangover feeling without having drunk anything. The body demands these things, and the older you get, the faster the bill comes. Another thing that helps a lot is adjusting the screen brightness and using blue light filters, especially after midnight. The blue light from screens is exactly what messes up melatonin production and keeps you artificially awake. Many games and systems already have night modes or integrated filters. Use them to your advantage. It might feel strange at first, but after a while, you won't even notice the visual difference, and the impact on sleep is real. It's also worth being mindful of what you're playing. Extremely competitive, frustrating games or those requiring maximum concentration can be terrible choices for the middle of the night because they leave you even more wired and make it harder to shut down afterward. Sometimes it's better to opt for something calmer, a relaxing indie, an exploration game, or even revisiting a title you've already beaten and just want to enjoy without pressure. Not every night needs to be an epic Elden Ring marathon. In the end, gaming in the early hours isn't a sin. The problem is doing it without any control or self-care. If you're going to stay up all night, let it be conscious, respecting your body's signals and knowing when to stop. Because the game will still be there tomorrow, but your health and energy won't automatically return just because you want them to. And believe me, playing well rested is infinitely better than insisting on continuing when your body gave up a long time ago.